So I'm looking at the flyer for my local Hannaford's grocery store, and on the bottom there's these two words and a crescent moon. And I think to myself, well, that must be Muslim, saying something, maybe about what time of year it is or anything. And sure enough, I look it up and I find out, it's connected with Ramadan, the month where they fast, but only when the sun is out, not when it's dark. They can eat. And then this other thing, the idea of their celebrating Abraham's faithfulness to be willing to sacrifice his son because God told him to. I don't know if many people have probably seen the famous painting where, Abraham's getting ready to sacrifice his son, and an angel stops him, and then, God says, oh, I know you really are putting me first because this is your most important thing in your life, your son, and you're willing to give him up, your only son. Sort of like Jesus. So, but in their version, our version, the Bible clearly says it's Isaac, and we follow the line of Isaac throughout Scripture. They, in this, what we're going to be calling the Jewish people, right? Well, while the Quran doesn't explicitly say in that section that it's Ishmael, that's what is believed, and then the Quran follows this line of Ishmael, okay? But it creates a tremendous, horrible tangle that you can't untangle because it becomes so unfactual, okay? So first we know that they tend to tell people when there's a disagreement like this, oh, the scriptures, the Christians and Jews changed the scriptures. Well, we know that Christians didn't do it because we have the Dead Sea Scrolls now. And that pretty much says that the Jews didn't either because we have all this information, that verifies the accuracy. Like there's a complete book of Isaiah in there, and it's extremely similar to what we have today. So the idea of Christian scripture or Jewish scripture being wrong or being corrupted doesn't really have a lot of weight. It's just something that can be said. And, in the Quran too, you can find a verse where Muhammad verifies the Christian and Jewish scriptures. And so when is he verifying it? He's talking about the scriptures they have at hand, right? That's in 620. So that's, way after the New Testament is consolidated, and certainly way after the books of the Old Testament were written. But anyway, here's the thing that crops up that's so unbelievable is, okay, now who's in Israel? It's like 80% Jews. There are Muslims there too. I don't know the exact split, but what I'm saying is that, it's a Jewish country. You look back, there were Jews in the land too. And you look at the New Testament, there were Jews there too. And so for this idea that that Ishmael was the chosen one means that somehow the Jews came in and took all of the population out of that area and replaced them with Jews. In other words, they went through Jerusalem and just swapped out every person there was. They swapped out with another, if they met a bookkeeper, they swapped him out with a Jewish bookkeeper. So Muslim shoemaker, Jewish shoemaker. So they went through this unbelievable transformation so that they're in the situation where there's Jews in the land instead of Muslims. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not recorded, certainly not recorded in our scriptures, certainly isn't recorded in their scriptures, really. There's no one answers this question of how, and then there's no other, we have literature about different, events in ancient history, and for, millions of people to be swapped out somehow is just not recorded anywhere. There's no war recorded. There's no, like, oh, Muslims sold all their territory to Jews. There's just nothing like that. So, it's almost like, magical thinking to think that somehow this swap happened, because, it's important for the Muslims that the Jews are in Israel because they need to get their land back. But again, this whole problem again can't even begin to answer is, how did these Jewish people, last we know they're being persecuted by Rome and everything. How did they just swap out? How did, and actually it goes back further than that, King David, we can go back, 1800 years and find archaeological evidence of Jews in what we call Israel. And so, there it is. This idea of celebrating Abraham's faithfulness by willing to sacrifice his son Ishmael runs into enormous historical errors. A total undocumented event in both biblical Christian Jewish Bible type thing, but also in the Quran it's not there. So how did this happen? And it just shows this idea that things are in the Quran that are nonsensical. They're made up. They didn't come from Allah, because if Allah was a supreme God, he'd know the history and the facts of what is going on, and there wouldn't be this big elaborate mess. And Islam works in a closed society, and where you have rules against, you can be executed by leaving Islam. So in a closed society that can control the flow of information, it can work. People, they memorize the Quran, which is about 3/4 the size of the New Testament. So they memorize it, they do what it says, but overridingly what's happening now, and Muslim scholars are agreeing, this is from Muslim scholars, this isn't from Jews or Christians, that 25% of young Muslims are leaving Islam because they study the Quran. And the Quran is like eating a brick. That's what I think. I took a course in it, and it's like, oh, this is horrible. One person was doing this, it was a thing we did at church, and there were, 25 lessons or something. And at one point, she just got up and said, they changed the names of the main characters so they'll rhyme. And yes, that's correct. And she was just like, forget it. And she passed in the books and walked out, because, even she knew that was ridiculous. But, so anyway, when Muslims have contact with the outside world and they study the Quran and compare it to what they see around them, it doesn't hold water. They find out that there are good Jews, there are good Christians, there are bad Christians, bad Jews, bad Muslims, good Muslims. Human beings, they're all kind of the same. And this breaks down this whole idea of this monolithic belief that the Quran is God's unchangeable word that was transmitted from Allah gave it to Gabriel. Gabriel gave it to Muhammad, and Muhammad had it written down because he couldn't read or write. And it's interesting that this has come up recently in something I read. Okay, everybody accepts the fact that Muhammad was illiterate. He couldn't read, he couldn't write. Obviously, he was a great, general forces, how to, conquer people and kill people. But now they want to, that gets brought up over and over again, that the Quran says that. And so now they're saying, well, no, it doesn't really mean what that says. What it means is he wasn't well lettered. In other words, he didn't have a degree in these languages or stuff, but he could read it and write it. There's no problem there. And it's like, oh, wait a second. If the unchangeable Quran is going to have its words completely altered in meaning, you're basically corrupting the Quran again. And, I think it's very corrupted. But just this idea that you could change something like, the fact that he couldn't read or write to make him more in line with today's society or something, or the expectation of people that are involved in religion, that's just, again, another blunder where you look and say, so wait a second, from 2026 and before, you believed he couldn't read or write, and in 2026, you started believing he just wasn't really good at it. He didn't know a lot of languages, but he was really, nonsensical. But so, you young Muslims, study the Quran. You old Muslims, study the Quran. Ask questions. Try to understand it. And I'll tell you, a lot of people who do that leave religion completely or actually become Christians. And so there we go. Tell me what you think. Bye.